Greetings, people of the internet. This is Scott with Serkworks Art Labs, and this is Pro versus Con, Pro Tips for Conventions, where I dish out some information, some tidbits, some tips on how to exhibit at a Comic-Con, a fan con, a pop culture event, anime con, whatever it is you're thinking about exhibiting at. Now, I did a whole series of these, but it's been a while since I've done one. Partially because I think I covered a lot of ground in the ones I already did, so I didn't really know if I had any new information to throw out there. But also, the reason why I kind of stopped doing it is because I started to realize that apparently I've been doing this whole comic convention thing wrong all this time. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you 5 tips that will pretty much guarantee you success at a Comic-Con or any other kind of pop culture event, like I said. So here's the thing. These are things that I haven't been doing myself. Why? Because I'm a fool. I'm an idiot. I'm a glutton for punishment. I don't know. But these are things that I haven't been doing, and to be honest, I don't know if I will do them. But I'll get into them and I'll kind of give you some of these tips. You can take them, run with them, do whatever you want. It's up to you, but here they are. I'll let you know. Now, before I get into it, I just want to kind of give you a little background. So, have you ever been given like instructions on how to do something, and instead of reading the instructions, you decided to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to figure this out for myself. I'm going to do it the hard way. That's kind of the way I am for whatever reason. So, like when I was a kid, I used to play with Legos. Every Lego set, of course, comes with the instructions. If you follow those instructions, you will be successful and you will build exactly what you're trying to build, what's on the box. For whatever reason, I never did that. I would just open up all the Legos and start building my own thing. Probably didn't look as cool, probably didn't work as well as what was on that box, but I don't know, I was happy with it, I liked it, it was something different. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. So hopefully you understand where I'm going with this. But anyway, so here are the tips. We're going to start with tip number 1 of things you want to do at a Comic-Con or the like to be successful. Tip number 1, sell fan art. Okay, so this is probably the single most important bit of advice I can give you if you want to be successful selling artwork at comic conventions, and that is to sell fan art. Now, there's a caveat to this. Your skills have to be up to par, okay? There are a lot of really, really talented fan artists out there that you're competing with, and it used to be when things kind of were starting off, you could just go there and be sort of mediocre, and if you're selling fan art, you're going to do well. That's not really the case anymore. You have to bring it, okay? But if you bring it and you're selling fan art, I mean, fan art is like this multiplier, and like I said before, this is one thing. These are things that I don't do myself. I don't really sell fan art. If I did, I can guarantee you that I would probably sell at the very least, like 4 times what I sell now if I'm selling fan art. So why don't I do it? Well, that's a good question. I know sometimes I ask myself that same thing. Basically, I'm trying to build my own intellectual property. I'm trying to build my own brand, and it's not easy. It's an uphill climb. Because here's the thing. When people go to conventions, they don't go there to discover new things, all right? They go there because they want stuff that's based on things that are, properties that they're already familiar with. Things based on their favorite movies or games or TV shows, all right? When they come to somebody like me who's got something that they don't recognize, they don't really know what to make of it. It's kind of like, yeah, I don't know about this. It's yeah, I don't get it quite yet, and that's the uphill climb. That's what you got to do, is you have to kind of introduce what this is, and it's hard because no one's told them that they're allowed to like this thing yet. All right, that's that's the hardest thing, and and this may sound a little harsh, but as people, people are like sheep. All right. We buy what we've been conditioned to buy from marketers, all right? When you sell fan art, you are getting the benefit of years of brand recognition and millions of dollars spent in marketing on these IPs, these intellectual properties, these characters we all know and love. You're getting that for free. So it's, I mean, how could you not do it? I mean, it's crazy, again, this multiplier that fan art is, because, for me, I don't have the wherewithal. I don't have millions of dollars to spend marketing my thing. I've got to do this grassroots thing, and I know it's going to take a long time, and it may never happen. I don't know, but it's just, that's the kind of the path I'm on. That's what I'm doing. So when you have that behind you, when people already know what you're selling, it's how could you go wrong? I mean, it sells. It sells like hotcakes. If it's good, it sells like hotcakes. All right, because people stop by. Oh, I love that character. Oh, and this is a new spin on it or whatever. Okay, so if you can do that, then you're going to be successful. All right. Now, is selling fan art legal? Not really. Okay. Let's be honest, okay? We got to be honest here. No, it's not really legal, but I don't want this to come off like I'm on my high horse and I don't sell fan art because it's illegal or whatever. Because let's be honest. Have I ever broken laws? Sure. Do I speed all the time? Probably way more than I should. So I'm not here to say, I don't do this because it's illegal and this and that. If you're considering selling fan art, I mean, that's a decision you have to make based, whatever that's based on, whether that's based on the legalities of it, any risk that you might take on by doing it, or benefits. And like I said, in most cases, the benefits outweigh the risks. So it's really a personal choice, and everyone has their own way of looking at things, their own things that they feel comfortable doing or not doing. There's artists online that I follow that I really respect their opinion, that give out a lot of great information. There's people that because of their own beliefs or whatever, they won't do designs for like companies that sell alcohol, and I respect that. That's totally that's totally your decision, and you're allowed to make those decisions. And then and some of these people, they don't have a problem selling fan art, and that's fine. I don't have a problem designing stuff for companies that sell alcohol, but I can definitely see that you do. I mean, you need to make that call for yourself. And there's certain things that I won't do. Like I won't do designs for, say, like hate groups and things like that. So whatever it is you're comfortable with, just kind of look into it, know the risk, and make that decision for yourself. Anyway, so but my thing is, whether it's illegal, all this stuff. That's not really why I don't do fan art or don't sell fan art. The reason for that is I want people to purchase stuff because they like what I'm doing. They like my ideas, not because it's based on a character they already know. So that for me, that's what it boils down to. But that's why sometimes I struggle at these shows. So if you want to be successful, and you're okay with it, if you don't have any qualms about it, then by all means sell fan art. And if your artwork is good, you're going to do really well. So that was the first tip. The next tip number 2, is keep it simple. All right, so let me explain a little bit what I mean by keeping it simple. So I'm going to take you way back a long time ago. Earlier on in my career, I used to work in children's entertainment. I helped to develop a children's show, and what we did was we created a pilot and everything. And we took it to this thing called NATP, and if you're not I don't know what that acronym stands for. It's been a while, but basically what it is, it's like an event. It's like sort of like a convention, but it's not really open to the public. But it's where studios and networks go to purchase like television properties, or I don't know if I think it is specific to television. I don't think it has to do with movies, if I'm correct. It's been a while, like I said. But anyway, so this is the big event where where like networks like ABC, you know, CBS, Fox, cable networks, all these different places they go, and people pitch them ideas. And so the way it was separated. There were 2 floors. Okay, the top floor, that was your big hitters. Those were your major networks, the big companies that everyone's heard of. And they had these really elaborate booths and everything, all right? And then on the second floor down below is all the little guys, and that's what we were, okay? Now, I didn't want to, because I'd seen pictures of what this thing looked like before on the second floor, and it's not pipe and drape, kind of like it would you say at a comic convention, but it's kind of these cubicle type, I don't know, just these sectioned off things. There's walls and everything. Each one's kind of sectioned off like a big giant cubicle, and it's got the name. And basically on that floor, no one really did anything. They put up some, you know, posters or some banners or whatever. But what I did, and I wish I could have a picture, but this is so long ago, I don't even know if I have a quality picture to throw up. But for the show that we were pitching, we built this giant thing that looked, because the setting of this children's show that I created, it took place in a jungle. So we created sort of this rock formation and everything, and it really stood out. And we got so much traffic from there, and we did get a lot of eyes and everything, but it really stood out because it was different, it popped. Now, if I was to move it upstairs, it might get lost in that because there's so many amazing things. And that's kind of what I found out in dealing with comic conventions, because if you've ever walked the floor of a Comic-Con, it is just like sensory overload. There is just so much stuff to look at, and no matter, you know, and I'm used to kind of going real elaborate with my table set up and everything, and some people do notice, and some people, you know, I have some people come up and say, oh, this is the best booth here, and that really makes me feel good. But for the most part, people just, you know, there's just too much to see, you know. For instance, all the work that I go, here, I'll throw up a little picture of my booth so you can kind of see what it looks like. All right, so you can see I go all out, all right? But I have to be honest, so despite all the work and everything I put in the booth to try to wow people, a giant like poster of, let's say, Deadpool or Harley Quinn is going to draw way more eyes to it than anything that I'm doing, and that's just the way it is. So am I going to stop what I'm doing? Probably not. Am I wasting my time? Probably. I don't know. But, you know, there are people out there that do appreciate it, and it's something that I like to do, so I'm probably going to continue to do that. Now, I am going to make some changes because I'll get into this probably on another episode of Pro versus Con, but I do realize that it may be a little too much, and without, you know, still keeping in the theme of what I want to do, and, you know, this whole mad scientist supply store theme I'm going with, I do want to try to make it a little more concise. The signs I had before they were a little hard to read, just a little too wacky and whimsical and things like that. So I'm going to try to make that a little more clear. So there's things like that, but that's kind of what I mean about keeping it simple. Because if you're at an event where everything is basically bland and milquetoast, and you're coming at it with, you know, this really wacky display or whatever, it's going to get eyes. But the problem is, like I said, everyone is like stepping up their game, and everyone is doing something like that. So you tend to get lost. So sometimes I'm wondering if you keep things more subtle. For instance, if everyone's doing all this colorful, you know, stuff, and you come in with just like browns and beiges and just something that will stop and like catch your attention, that might be something to think about. So that's what I mean by keep it simple. And where are we? So what are we going to talk about next? We're going to go on to tip number 3, and that is don't sell comics. So I don't know where anyone would get the idea that a comic convention would be a good place to sell comic books. I mean, that's crazy talk, all right? Now, granted, if you're like Marvel or DC or Image or a pretty well-established comic book company and you have a presence at a comic convention, you're probably going to do all right. You're probably going to sell your issues and everything like that. Or if you're a comic book store and you set up shop and you've got back issues and things like that, you'll probably sell comics too. I'm not so sure your independent comic is going to do that well. It kind of goes back to the same thing with fan art. All right, so it's introducing people to this new thing, and it's going to be hard. And I speak from experience because I have my own comic. I sell my comic at conventions, and it's hard. And there's a lot. I mean, if you're going in it to be successful, it's way easier just to sell prints because they're quicker to do. The amount of time that goes into the comic books now, I mean, that's probably why you don't see a lot of like fan art comic books. I don't know if there's a difference in if like they would crack down if you actually made a book rather than prints. I really don't know, but there's just so much time involved in that. The ends really don't justify the means. And though a lot of people do love to create, generally like creating fan art and like doing that, I think a lot of people do it because it's kind of that lure of easy money, and you really don't get that return from something that takes as long as creating a comic book. So if you're selling your own original comic book, it's going to be difficult. But again, I do it. I'm going to continue to do it because that's what I like to do, and I'm crazy that way. So yeah, it's comic book conventions nowadays aren't really so much about comics, and you probably heard this before and everyone kind of knows it, but it's more, people go there to be immersed in pop culture. All right, they're more pop culture cons than comic cons, even though most of them do have their roots in comics. I mean, that's pretty much where all this stuff started. So when comic conventions like San Diego Comic-Con or whatever first came around, I mean, that's what it was. It was comics, so I can see them holding on to this idea or the branding that is Comic-Con, all right? But a lot of newer conventions now, they're kind of branding themselves as like Fan Fest or Fan Expo, and I think that's a little more true to what these things are all about. It's kind of like, I liken it to like record stores that are still around today. There's a big chain where I live called Zia Records. It's a great store. I like going in there, and they do sell records there. All right, just like comic conventions, you can find comics there. But I'd be very curious to know the ratio of how many records they sell versus like the books and all the pop culture stuff that they sell there. Because there's a niche market for people who like records and vinyl and things like that, but I really don't I don't think that's their core, that's their core, where the bulk of their business comes from. So anyway, and of course with this whole thing I'm being a little facetious when I don't sell comics, but if you're just in it to earn money, make a quick buck, probably not the best way to go about it. That's not going to change the way I do things, so I will continue to sell comics. But we're going to move on to tip number 4, and that is don't sell a variety. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Well, at my booth, I sell all kinds of different things, all right? I sell prints, I sell comics, I sell messenger bags, bow ties, I sell trading cards, I sell sketches, I sell little lab experiments. Everything kind of falls under this Mad Science Supply umbrella, okay? So I'm trying to keep everything under the same banner. But sometimes, people don't get it. It's hard. And sometimes I think that's a detriment to me, all right? I've seen other people and they stick to like one thing and they do it well, and in a setting like a comic convention, I think as much as it hurts me to say it, I think that might be the way to go. And again, I'm probably not going to do it, but when you see all this different stuff, and then if you can in a minute, if you can sell or second, actually, you only have actually seconds when somebody walks by your booth whether they're going to stop and take a look. And if it's something that just at first glance you get just like that, then I think you're going to do well. Like, so I exhibited next to this girl who sold. She was selling these. They were like sort of like these Aztec cave drawing prints of and first you didn't see it unless you look close, but you'll notice it's like video game characters and stuff, and it's very, like I said, it's almost like cave drawing, so it kind of tells a story, almost like, you know, when you say, if you look at Donkey Kong, you can see Mario and he goes up and there's this whole path that he takes, or Pac-Man or whatever, but it was kind of like that in the style of, you know, of this Aztec drawing. And, you know, if she was just to have like one of those and some other prints, I don't think she would do as well. And I think she did pretty well because she had this same kind of running theme through all her prints. She found what worked for her and she stuck with it, and she did really well. So I mean, whatever your idea is, I mean, if you've got an idea where you want to do, I'm going to do all these prints of superheroes eating fast food. That's going to be what my thing. That's what I'm going to do. And people look at it and they get it right away, and they know what you're all about, and your story is told right there. You don't have to explain it. Like at my table, like if somebody comes up to buy, say, like one of my lab products, I have to explain what it is because they all do different things. I've got little brains that grow when you add water. I've got little space slugs that crawl down like refrigerators or smooth surfaces. I've got glob that glows in the dark, and each one comes with the print, and each one comes in a gift box. And I have to explain all this stuff, and even after you explain it, sometimes it's hard for people to get. So, I mean, that's the type of thing. It's also like pitching. It's like pitching a comic book. You know, they can look at the cover and they can see, oh, you're selling a comic book, but you gotta pitch them. And I do a pretty good job of keeping it, just like I got an elevator pitch. I come out and I say, it's my comic. It's kids versus zombies. It's like Goonies meets Night of the Living Dead. So right away you can get that. But still, I have to explain that. You know, where if you can just show, because a picture's worth 1,000 words. If you can show what you're all about without having to explain it, I think that's going to help you out. Back to this running theme, I'm going to probably continue to do things the same way. I might switch things around a little bit, like for instance with the lab products, but you know, for the most part, I like doing all this different stuff. I like selling. Now, you know, even going back to the last thing where I said, you know, don't sell comics. If I was there just selling my comics and none of this other stuff, I'd probably sell more comic books because people see, oh, this guy's selling comics. Now, right now, the way it is, I've got all this other stuff and I have comics as well. And so they probably don't sell as well because there's other stuff to look at. If I was just selling comics, they'd probably sell a little better. But I'm going to keep continuing to do things the way I do things, and, you know, that's just what I do. So here's our final, this is our final tip, and this one is don't sell quality prints. So here's the thing. I see exhibitors at Comic-Con selling prints, like 11 by 17 prints for, I don't know, $5 or 3 for $10. And you know, I get people coming to my booth and I sell 18 by 20 prints for $20. I sell 20 by 30 prints for $30. And they're kind of like, oh, that's a little pricey. But the thing is, you know, most of the prints that you see, these 11 by 17 prints that you see out in Artist Alley, they're not really, technically they're not prints. They're color copies that you would get at like a Kinko's or something like that. So my prints are created using a photographic process. They're printed on film. They're archival, which means they're going to last. They're not going to fade if you put them out in the light or whatever. So, you know, I spend a little more money on my prints and I have to charge a little more, but they're quality. But the weird thing is I don't necessarily think, you know, most con-goers really care about the quality of their prints. You never get anyone, you know, looking at print and saying, oh, look at the quality of this print. It's more like, oh, look, I got, you know, 5 prints for $15 or something like that. So, you know, I'm wondering if it's really, you know, worth it to spend the extra money to do quality prints, because it doesn't seem like people really care about that, you know. But then again, you know, I take pride in the fact that I'm delivering a quality product, all right, and I want to continue to do that. So, you know, and I know that, you know, my work is going to stand the test of time. I know, it gives me a good feeling to, you know, provide value to people, and there are people out there that appreciate it. But I think in general, as a whole, I'm not sure most people really care about that. So, again, if you want to make a quick buck, it's probably not a good idea to spend the extra money on quality prints. And so that kind of goes along with everything that I said. These are things you can do, and if you follow all 5 of these steps, and again, your work has to be, the core of the work has to be good. You have to have a product that somebody likes, but the way you deliver it, how you take advantage of the marketing that's already been laid out, whether you're doing fan art or keeping things simple. All these tips that I mentioned, if you follow all these and your work is good, you're going to do really well at Comic Cons. And I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing and hope that this I'm playing this for the long game. I'm hoping that eventually it's going to pay off. But we'll see. Only time will tell. So, take these with a grain of salt. You can do what you want with them. If you want to be successful, take these tips, run with them, change them around, do whatever you want. You can be like me and say, well, I can kind of see that, but I'm going to kind of do my own thing. I'm going to build my own Lego creation or whatever it is. But yeah, that's it. I'll be back. I think I've got some other stuff to talk about. I did just exhibit at Phoenix Comic Con. I did some changes, some different things that seemed to work, some things that didn't, and I want to talk a little bit about that. So I'll probably be back with at least another episode of Pro versus Con. And there's a lot of other stuff on my channel, so you might want to subscribe. I've got a lot of cool stuff coming up. Anyway, So yeah, just like, subscribe, leave a comment if you have any questions. If something I said frustrated you and you're like, wow, this guy's against fan art, what? Leave it in the comments. Let me know. I try to get back to everyone if possible. If you agree with me, let me know that. Whatever the case is, I'd love to hear from you. Subscribe, like, comment, all that cool stuff. I'll be back with another Pro versus Con. Until then, that is all.